I've been like so procrastinating with this video. It's like freaking just it's dusk right now. There's like no light. Like literally, if I continue on. Okay, originally this video was going to be more or less in the video essay format because I do really want to push that kind of content nowadays for this channel. And I do have a couple of video essays in the works at the moment that are going to be released gradually throughout the year. But unfortunately, I am being a lazy bum with school and work right now being my main priority. So yeah. At any rate, the title of the video doesn't really lie to you, and neither does the thumbnail. I didn't like Zenkaiger. Okay, shut up and ignore that for 2 minutes. Yeah, Zenkaiger just was a snooze fest and a bit of a disappointment to me, to be completely honest with you. Now, I know I said way back in March last year that Zenkaiger was probably the best I've ever seen in a Sentai season, but that was more or less for the fact that it was the beginning of the show and it was just the introductory episodes going on. And quite frankly, I have seen a few arguments about how Zenkaiger isn't exactly good or the best ever in recent years. At first, I thought a majority of those arguments were just people clowning on how the new age of Sentai is this formula, trying to make fun of its tropes and everything and being over-exaggerative. But there were a few diamonds in the rough that said that they personally feel like Zenkaiger just wasn't really a good fit for them. And personally, I can respect all opinions. But at the same time, you can't exactly say that a series is gold just because it's slapstick. I think one of the major examples of Zenkaiger not being a good season is the Kaiju no Kami drama that boiled over on Twitter last year. Kaiju no Kami made the comment saying that currently Zenkaiger isn't really good, and he sort of compared it to Go-Onger, Turbo Ranger, and all the other Sentais that he didn't really deem that were good enough for his standards. And Twitter sort of tore his ass apart by that point. When I looked at the argument, I thought, okay, everyone's entitled to the opinion, and it is the beginning of the show, so it's not like it could just... it's not like his opinion will stay that way. And I've watched all of his videos talking about the series progression from episode 1 all the way up to now, and I'm kind of going to have to agree with him on this one. And I know it's in a bad analogy and how I'm comparing my opinions to Kaiju no Kami's opinions, even though that a majority of you guys probably don't even like him to begin with. But personally, I feel like Zenkaiger just had the hills that they wanted to reach, but they were only at the midway point. Let me explain. So the first few episodes were primarily introduction episodes, getting used to our characters, their character tropes, so on and so forth. That's fine. The first 10 episodes I can handle because it's them developing their stories. But what I can't exactly forgive is that they didn't really do anything plot-wise. I think I'm just going to go down the list of the character growth for everybody right now and sort of see where they started from the beginning and then sort of end up in the end. So first things first, we have Kaito, the guy who just wants to do it all and be one of the world's first, basically. He still technically does want to be the world's first as the series progresses, but he wants to be the world's first person to bungee jump off the top of a building, and then Kikaitopia gets fused together, and he wants to sort of like help the Kikainoids adapt to Earth in a sense. Now, those morals are good and everything, and when he becomes a Zenkaiger, he wants to be the world's first Sentai to like be completely different and turn things on its head. That was the whole point of the Zenkai Red special. That was the whole point of his character arcs, so on and so forth. And he wanted to just find his parents. He ends up finding his dad, or in this case, reprogramming his dad. But the episode where he tried to find his mom, it was only one episode and done. And even still, when Kaiser was back to being Kaito's dad, he decided that he'll go out and try to find her. And mind you, there is a huge episodes gap between those two. Next up is Juron. Juron just wants to be a party Kikainoid and basically just wants to be the dude. And he has somewhat of the most experience of the team, considering he is technically the oldest, roughly 30 years old, I want to say. But the thing is that he was like just not really liked in Kid Catopia, and it was spoken of in a few episodes, but there was no growth after that. He was just sort of like the big brother role to Kaito as well as the rest of the team moving onwards, and there really wasn't a character growth for that moment. Gaon, aka my son, is just basically a Kikainoid that was abused for his time before the Tochitendo fused with Earth. Essentially, he sort of ended up hating his own kind, this being robots, and just wants to be with the human animals, so on and so forth. That's all I can really say. His character trope is never explained. I mean, not trope, his backstory is never explained. He hates the Kikainoids, and it's not explained. Why didn't you get an episode? Majin is a reserved reserved palm reader slash what's the word I'm looking for when it comes to people who just want to guess the future? Predictor, maybe? But yeah, she's just a shy, reserved Kikainoid, and then she later on becomes less reserved, but more or less just the shy girl type in the team. And that's it. Rune is smart. That's it. Notice how I use less sentences as these go on. Zox and the Gold Squeaker family, they're just world-traveling pirates trying to get the treasure. Nothing really much else to say about that. Zox just wants to be the best older brother that he is, and he's the captain and everything. We get these character moments. Actually, I think we get him more than Kaito, to be honest, but other than that, he is our 6th Ranger for this season. And Stacy is there. Our main cast of character development was already bad enough as it is, but the villains this season were just a huge disappointment. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, Zenkaiger was the hugest disappointment in a Sentai I've ever seen. This is a close second. I mean, to be completely fair to it, I know the writers tried to make it appealing to a degree, but even the producer stated that they made Zenkaiger so that people even with a low IQ can enjoy it. And I am perfectly fine with the goofy Sentai. I am perfectly fine with the Sentai just going off the rails for a couple of episodes and then getting back on track. But for the 49 plus episodes of this crap, I can't take it. Now, I know what you're probably going to think, oh, you just hate Zenkaiger. Here's the thing. I know I probably said my words wrong when I said that I didn't like Zenkaiger, but I don't hate it. I'm just disappointed, to be honest. Because here's the thing. The build-up for every single one of these characters, it's there for one episode, but instead of diving into it for the next batch of episodes, it's not there. Like, when Rune had his introduction episode, I was literally hoping that the Blue Ranger would have, a rivalry with Barashita because, well, he's been abused by him most of his entire life being a janitor working for a wall boss. But even still, that doesn't happen. And Rune's just like, I've got to know everything. It's weird to see how characters just have one key character trait to them and then expand on that for 49 plus episodes. The only other season that I think that actually did this, but still had time for development, was Ninja. And if you make me think of Ninja for this anniversary season, you've got a problem here. Somebody made the argument a while back that every single season past Gokaiger are bad in their own rights. They think Go Busters is bad because it doesn't really follow any of the Sentai norms and that it just completely changed the game. Kyoryuger was too lighthearted. Tokyuger was boring. Ninja was horrible to an extent because of its airtime with Kamen Rider Ghost. Zyuohger was a horrible anniversary because the characters didn't do anything, or that it didn't do anything like Gokaiger did a few years prior. Q Ranger had too many characters. Lupin Ranger vs. Pat Ranger had too much story for 6 characters and 2 Sentai teams. freaking people say that Ryu Soldier is bad because of the disrespect that it did to the Power Rangers community. As much as I don't like Ryu Soldier, that in of itself is a bullshit reason. I mean, to be fair, Kid Major doesn't really have that many negatives to it, and I hardly ever see people say that it's the worst. But even still, that's another thing I want to bring up. This was the 45th anniversary season, and yet it doesn't show anything anniversary related aside from the Sentai gears. I don't know. Maybe it was because that they just hyped this thing so up in toy scans and rumors and everything else in between that I just sort of felt like all of this would have a plot to it. And episode 7 had sort of that expectation rise for me with the introduction of the Dark Sentai gears, as well as the as well as the prologue for the first episode, where we see all the Sentai worlds being trapped inside the Tojo Tendo gears. And you know what the funny thing is? In episode 48, Wall Boss actually uses those Sentai gear powers. So either you had the writing on the wall, or you just didn't. Because apparently the in-canon explanations of the Dark Sentai gears were just essentially a one-use thing. I mean, that sort of explains it. And Stacy can only use a certain amount of Sentai gears at a time before his suit deactivates. Yeah, remember when he had that limiter on his suit? I didn't. I don't know. There was just so much hype for it within the toy department. It just tanks in comparison. And speaking of the toy department, Zenkaiger failed its goal because it made less than what the previous Sentai season had made. I mean, to be fair, this has nothing to do with my reasonings to why I didn't like Zenkaiger that much, but I feel like it should be mentioned at least. I mean, in all due respect, I respect anybody's opinions on saying that Zenkaiger is a great season. I respect everyone's opinion on certain tokusatsus. But personally, when I have to disagree with somebody on my personal take on a season, I hope for the best, and I hope not to get a massive argument out of this. I mean, hell, I'm pretty much staggering my words here because I'm afraid this video is going to get me flagged over on Twitter. But, I mean, like I said earlier, Zenkaiger had the potential to be something great, but every single time I feel like something was going to happen or some character was going to get a major character arc, it just sort of tanked, and it sort of left me just disappointed. I mean, here's the thing. I took all of the wacky anti-antics for about 10 episodes, and then I felt like, okay, the plot's got to move forward now. We're pretty much already almost at the halfway point. And then when we got to episode 20, I was like, okay, so where's the story? I mean, the stuff with the Kaiser, I can fully say that arc was a good arc. But that was the only good arc I can really say about the show. I mean, don't get me wrong, the stuff with this Goldstreakers family, like I mentioned earlier, it's fine. I like the Goldstreakers. I think Zox is a phenomenal 6th Ranger. But when you go out of your way to have these character moments between Kaito and Stacy, and have these one-off moments with the other Kikaino trying to adapt to society and the prejudice that they have against their own species, and you don't mention them again, aside from a couple of episodes and the introductory episodes, what are you doing with these characters? And that's another thing, too. Stacy had this whole roller coaster of emotions between Kaito's family, his own family, his daddy issues, as well as an existential identity crisis. And yet somehow when we get a moment with Stacy in it, he's just gone for like 2 episodes, and then he comes back with a completely different moral than what we were left off with. I don't know, I can go on and on about all the things I didn't like about Zenkaiger, but I personally don't want this video to be prolonged as it is. But to put it shortly, I'm okay with Zenkaiger. I have a middle ground with it. Comparing it to other Sentais that I've watched, I'd say it's a solid C, maybe even D tier Sentai show. I mean, hell, when Zenkaiger ended, I was really skeptical on even investing in Dawn Brothers because I felt like I don't know. I don't really know if I could take these exact same antics again for a sequel series. I mean, I did see earlier, and I'll probably put it on screen, that the writing for Dawn Brothers is actually going to be geared more towards the older audience, like, say, people from, like, 11 to my age, basically. And basically it's going to be more serialized than the past Sentai seasons. And I know for a fact Toshike Inoue is going to be in this, and if you don't know who that is at this point, Love Triangle City. But even still, like, I don't know, the last ever gimmick show that he wrote for was Kamen Kiva, and I've never seen Kiva, but I don't know. I'm just skeptical about this because I really want to like Dawn Brothers, and I do want to invest in it. But at the same time, Zenkaiger just left me disappointed in it, that I don't really have that many expectations going into the next season. And that's all I can really say about it. TLDR or TLDW or whatever it's called when it comes to video formats. Bottom line, I was disappointed with Zenkaiger, and honestly, I'll probably rewatch a couple of episodes for the ones that I like. But don't worry, Gallon. I still love you. Good boy. Anyway, with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this mindless ramble of a video. And if you want to listen to more Tokusatsu rants or follow me for more content, feel free to click the like button and subscribe for more content. And as well, if you want to see fast transformation videos and such, follow me on my TikTok. Now, I just recently hit 1,000 followers on that, so I might be doing some live streams on there, and I might be doing some other exclusive stuff on there as well. And with all that being said, this is Gozo Mandy, signing out. See you next time with some brand new content.